Alex thought payroll made a mistake. Same hours, same shifts, same overtime, same Friday. But when the deposit hit his account, the number stopped him cold. It was lower, not by a few dollars, by more than $200. He checked the hours. They were right. The rate was right. Then he saw it, with one word he'd been pretending not to think about for months. Garnishment. The debt wasn't asking anymore, it was taking. And that's what makes this moment so cruel. By the time money disappears before it reaches your bank account, the real mistake usually happened earlier, inside an envelope you didn't want to open. A normal bill asks you to pay. It sits on the counter. You decide when, and how much, and in what order. A collection letter pushes harder. It calls, it warns, it makes payday feel tense. But garnishment is different. Garnishment doesn't ask. It reaches into your pay before you ever see it and takes its share first. You're not deciding anymore. Someone decided for you. That's why this kind of payday hurts. In a way, a regular bill never could. The paycheck was supposed to be the relief, the thing you held out for all week. Instead, it shows up already smaller, already spoken for, with the most important decision about your own money made before you even logged in. So how does it get this far? It rarely starts dramatic. It usually starts quiet. A payment gets missed, maybe during a hard month. Then the letters come. Then the phone calls. Then a notice from a collection company. And sometimes, for certain debts, a lawsuit. If court papers show up and a person doesn't respond by the deadline, the case can move forward without them. The court may decide based only on the creditor's side. That's often called a default judgment. And once a creditor has a judgment, depending on the debt and the state, that can open the door to garnishing wages. I want to be careful here because this part isn't the same for everyone. Different debts follow different rules. Many ordinary debts, like a credit card or a personal loan, usually require the creditor to sue and win in court first. Other debts, like certain taxes, child support, or federal student loans, can follow their own separate paths. The limits change by state too. A few states protect wages from most consumer garnishment almost entirely. So the honest answer is, it depends. And it depends a lot. This video is here to explain the shape of the problem, not to give you legal advice for your exact situation. But the rules don't explain the human part. Why do people let it get to the paycheck? Why ignore the letters? Most of the time, it isn't because they don't care, it's because they're scared. That envelope sits on the table and it feels radioactive. They don't fully understand what's inside, or what the words mean, or what they're supposed to do. They're embarrassed. They think, I don't have the money anyway, so what's the point of opening it? Fear makes the envelope feel heavier than the debt, so it goes in a drawer. Then another one joins it. And the quiet pile in the drawer keeps moving forward even while they look away. It almost never feels like a decision. It feels like survival. Then payday comes, and the drawer catches up with them. This is the part that does the real damage. Because Alex's bills didn't get the memo. Rent is still due on the 1st. The car still needs gas to get him to the job that's paying him less now. Groceries cost what they cost. The phone bill, the insurance, the utilities, none of them shrink just because his paycheck did. Garnishment doesn't wait until life is affordable. It takes its cut on schedule, whether or not there's room for it. And it usually keeps going, paycheck after paycheck, until the debt behind it is satisfied. That's what makes it feel less like a bill and more like a slow leak you can't reach. And that's how one old debt quietly turns into several new ones. The check is short, so something else gets paid late. a late fee shows up. Maybe an account overdrafts. Maybe he puts groceries on a card he was finally paying down, or borrows from someone to cover rent. The garnishment didn't just take money. It took the breathing room that was holding everything else together. One problem from the past starts printing new problems in the present. So what can someone do before it ever reaches that point? Not legal advice, just the plain practical version. Any friend would tell you, open the mail. All of it. Even the scary ones, especially the scary ones. Read who actually sent it. Look for any dates or deadlines, because deadlines are where people lose options without realizing it. If something claims you owe money, you're allowed to ask for proof and make sure the debt is really yours and the amount is right. And if you ever get something that looks like court papers, that's the one thing you don't want to ignore, because that's usually the step that decides everything that comes after. If you're confused, then you can call the court listed on the paper or look for a nonprofit legal aid office near you. A lot of them help for free or for very little if you qualify. You can ask whether a payment plan or a settlement is possible. You can keep copies of everything. None of that guarantees a particular outcome, but responding early keeps you in the room where decisions get made instead of finding out what was decided on payday. And if the garnishment has already started, panic won't reverse it, so the goal shifts to understanding it. It helps to know who ordered the deduction and for which debt, and exactly how much is being taken. It's worth checking whether that amount is even correct, because there are limits on how much can be withheld for many ordinary debts, and those limits depend on your income and your state. It's worth finding out whether any protections or exemptions might apply to your situation, and whether legal aid can look at your case, and whether a payment arrangement is still on the table. You may have fewer options than before. You usually still have some. Think back to Alex standing there staring at a deposit that was smaller than his work. The worst part for him wasn't really the missing $200. He could almost have absorbed that. The worst part was the slow realization that this didn't come out of nowhere. The warnings had been arriving for months. They came on paper. They came with deadlines. They came while there was still time to answer, and every one of them had gone into the drawer, unopened, because opening it felt worse than not knowing. A paycheck is supposed to feel like a fresh start, a clean line between the work you did and the life you're trying to build. Wage garnishment can turn it into something else, a reminder that the money was already spoken for before it ever reached you. You can't always control how far behind life pushes you, but the letter almost always comes before the deduction, and the whole game is dealing with the letter while it's still just a letter before the debt stops asking and starts taking.